Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the LJL Officially Unofficial Podcast, Season 2, Episode 31. MaskedSwan joined by Initialise. I think I'm going the right way in the middle.
I'm hoping. I'm here, wherever
really
I may be.
Nymaera's just letting me fondle around, so I'm going to go the other side, and I'm going to go Nymaera.
That's me.
Even though I'm not in the middle, you're on the far side of this side or this side.
It's that one. You got to write that one. That's good. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Even though we are quite spatially quite confused today, we're not confused about League of Legends. We're never confused about League of Legends.
Except when very strange things get locked in and we have to watch the games again. But hey, that's only occasionally. Welcome everybody to the LJL OU podcast. Gentlemen, I missed you last week. While I had a banger with Joshi and Melvin, it wasn't the same.
I can see why that'd be a problem. Sounds like the podcast itself was exceptional, though. I enjoyed listening back to what I've been able to listen back. Obviously, at the time, it was a bit tricky because we were down in Cornwall and doing things like, you know, being on holiday. So there was less consumption of social media involved. But I'm looking forward to catching the other half of the podcast episodes that I've yet to fully listen through.
How was your holiday, gentlemen? I mean, as always, how have you been? How was your holiday?
It was needed, very much needed, because I was very blessed, actually, over this weekend to have a quarterfinals EU Masters cast.
Well done, by the way, on that broadcast.
Just to be completely transparent, I was only expecting and was only asked to do initially 1 day in groups, and then I got another one and then a quarterfinal. So, like, I kind of like emotionally prepared myself to do one, put everything into it, and then like these other two came up. I'm like, oh bloody hell, I best really start getting at that. And it was wonderful, a really good experience. But like, I needed that holiday beforehand because I think if I'd gone into that without a decent break, I would have like burned out even worse than I have done right now.
Full LJL vibes. Your spirit would have been trying to escape your body.
However, what is helping with that, because this is like my other piece of really important news, I am officially now a full-time caster. I have, I've taken a year out of uni, I've done the paperwork, and I'm going to be looking for full-time casting positions. Let's come into the next split and any opportunities over off season. So this is like a really kind of crazy exciting time for me because it is terrifying going freelance full-time because there is no stability. You are your own stability, and when you're first starting out, it's very difficult. So that's kind of been my whirlwind of the last week. E-Masters quarterfinals, going full-time, come back off holiday. Eventful, to say the least.
Fair to say. What about you, Sam? Obviously, you've had just as much of an amazing holiday. You posted lovely photos. 1-0 up was the meme, so yeah. I have no idea what it's referenced to. It's just 1-0, and I'm like, yep, all right.
Sibling rivalry. I'm up in it.
Sibling rivalry. I don't know about that. We'll call it even.
On your end, maybe.
How are you doing, Sam? What have you been up to? How you feeling, buddy?
Been on holiday. Obviously, I'm in a pretty similar position to Al. Obviously, coming into the off season, I think we're both looking for more of those casting gigs. Please, someone pay us to do.
Hire these gentlemen. Fuck's sake.
I promise. People should hire us. Look at this amazing team we are.
People should really start considering hosting as a full-time position as well and start hiring for that, because this guy's really good.
If only.
If only. Yeah, aside from that, it's pretty good. I've got myself a date this evening, which I'm quite excited for, so looking forward to that. And otherwise,
what's the outfit? What outfit you going to be wearing?
I'm still working that one out, actually. It's not going to be
What you're saying to me right here, Sam, is you didn't think about it till I just said it.
I have actually been thinking about it, but I've got to see whether the shirt I'm considering is actually in a fit state to be worn. I was like, oh, that's a great shirt. Is it actually? I was like, because I've not worn it in ages. Like, is it actually hanging up and looking okay, or is it like folded up somewhere and I need to iron it? It's like, okay. Otherwise,
you're like, I haven't looked at this shirt for like 2 years.
Well, not in about 3 months. I've not really had that many opportunities to wear a shirt. So,
I mean, sir, I've literally got some clothing I've not worn for about 13 months at this point, and I'm like, man, maybe I'll one day wear that hoodie again.
One thing I'm going to do over off season is I might need to enlist your help for this, Lexi, because you're the most fashionable of us. I need to get myself some more broadcast appropriate wear.
As I sit here in my very overdone freezer pajama hoodie with my joggers
Lexi,
on and everything.
I'm wearing a graphic tee.
I mean, I've got something that can redeem me. I'm wearing Saint Laurent, whatever the fuck underneath. I don't give a fuck, man. It's freezer time. Let's go, LJL. Woof. Outside of that, gentlemen, my weekend and week has mostly been. So I played some poker.
Good.
Bad beats were had. Felt good. But I've been rallying up a bunch and winning a bunch just practice-wise. So you always feel good when your practice goes well. When the real thing doesn't work out, it's what it is, But I had a bunch of time, went to the Aspers Casino in London for an evening play. Yeah, got caught with my pants down when I was trying to bluff a guy, and then had to go all in. And someone hit literally the nuts on me on the first three.
Ouch.
So, I mean, I just kind of was like, I'm ahead. And I'm dead. All right, let's just go off. Like, I'm not even going to be mad about that. Other than that, been doing a bit of writing for my Road 96 game video that I want to do. Been doing some stuff with LJL, obviously in the back end with the three of us getting stuff sorted, looking towards the future of the podcast, the broadcast, as well as what we're thinking about doing for Worlds. Nothing to announce yet, ladies and gentlemen, but we've got that train going. We're still waiting to hear when World playing draws are going to happen.
And of course, that's important because obviously Sam and I haven't been on podcasts for... Well, we weren't on last week, we were on the week before. So we haven't talked about semis and finals, but we kind of did that last time. We will stop in on that, but it's more important for this context to say we can't really do a full Worlds preview episode today because we don't know the groups. We can talk about some stuff, not all of it. If you want to ask any more in-depth questions, there is a chat on the side of this channel you can go to. Yeah. There is a Discord channel for this as well. But, like, we're not aiming to do like a full Worlds recap, like preview episode today.
To just jump on top of that, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. I want to know who you think will be in that group with DFM and how badly will DFM destroy their hopes and dreams of Worlds. I'm thinking pretty badly, but that's up to you to figure out, ladies and gentlemen.
I pressed the wrong button.
Outside of that, go on iTunes. 5 stars, no stars, review us, whatever. If you do review us, we'll give you a shout out. Haven't got a review. We just got rated 5 stars though, so we're getting more reviews. People are clicking those 5 stars.
Well,
they're just not saying anything,
that's okay.
Half of the job. You're getting you get one thumbs up, not the both of them.
That's an important half of the job. So
it is.
Thank you for that.
True. But with that said, gentlemen, I don't really have much more to say. Let's
get into it.
I've played oh god, I do have one thing I should probably announce. Nymaera,
yes.
I come to you, Father, forgive me, for I have sinned.
Child. What have you done, my child?
I've played over 30 games of Yumi.
Destroy your account. Burn it. Leave it in the ashes.
It's a good thing it's not the MaskedSwan account. It's the Lexi account.
Lexi account.
It's the Lexi account.
Yeah, there's your solo podcast name.
The Lexi account. Actually, you know what? That's actually not terrible.
Unless it's and then you can have like a crime spin-off called The Lexi Files, where you go and solve like solo queue related murders.
You're giving me content for this off-season, sir. Like, this is content. There's still 60 days till the end of ranked season.
I'm happy to do some voiceover work for you. Day 33 in the Lexi Files, and Lexi's still trying to figure out who has murdered this Yumi.
Yumi got me all the way almost to Silver 1 at this point from Silver 4 in like 4 days.
Love to hear it.
5 days? I don't know. I also occasionally pull up the Thresh, and I've still got like a 675 win rate with the Thresh, so I don't try and abuse the Thresh too much, because Thresh giveth and taketh.
Yeah.
Yes.
But with that said, gentlemen, let's get into this podcast. And as Nymaera has already mentioned, got questions for us? Twitch. We got Twitter accounts. Add us. Or you can just add the LJL account, or go into that Discord, because this is going to be a far more chatty episode in general. Gentlemen, first thing to come over to you, because one of the most important things that you guys weren't around for, and I live tweeted, at least the Sona Appreciation post. What were your thoughts on the Pentakill album and the show, if you've had the chance to go back and listen or watch it, or just even your thoughts on it?
Okay, so I didn't watch it live. I'll say that first, because we were doing stuff, holiday stuff, so I didn't get to watch it live. From what I've seen from the clips, and from what I briefly saw on people live tweeting it and stuff like that, if oh my god, it's so cheesy and the animations are so bad. You've not really interacted with power metal much before, have you, buddy?
Yeah, like it was,
I have to say,
it was
from what I saw,
amazing.
like, so one of the things about Pentakill is that to make metal accessible towards a large audience in the same way that you can do with pop acts and stuff, which is less abrasive in its sound and its stuff like that, you need to make it caricatured. You need to make it. There you go. We're in focus again. What I saw for that video was like, it was prime like Megadeth era of random music videos.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. I think that's the main thing. Like, it was never going to be like it was like Dragon Force, Megadeth, or something like Iron Maiden, which kind of again like caricatures itself in that kind of very aloof way. If you get what I mean. I enjoyed it. As a long-time metal fan myself, I agree. In fact, actually, do I have my thing? I have a really cool thing somewhere. I have, actually, first off, I'm wearing my Deep Purple t-shirt, so I've got my classic rock there. But I actually have like some plectrums from some metal bands around here somewhere. But yeah,
cool.
I'm a big old metal fan, and it's fun to see like a genre which I've loved for so long to be kind of put into another area of life which I've interacted with for so long.
Yeah. I also think it was just a really cool idea for an event. Like, it was janky as hell. It was so ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun. And I think generally the reception has been quite positive, especially considering the theming and the context. Like, it was exactly what you should have expected.
So
I mean, there's a giant Mordekaiser that converts to Viego's side before being reminded that the Master of Metal bows to no man, and then they chase Viego on a flying platform around the world, and finally Mordekaiser punches him in the face, and they just spend like a good 30 seconds zooming in on the dead on like Viego's knocked out body, like GTA Wasted style.
So
it's brilliant. It's utterly ridiculous, but it's brilliant.
So this has no patterning on it anymore. It is just a plain bass pick. But when Sam and I went to our first gig when I was 12, 13, we went to go see Deep Purple in Nottingham, and our dad took us to see that. So Deep Purple, Thin Lizzy, and Styx. And this is Deep Purple's bassist picks. That's Roger Glover's bass pick. So I've little Alex is always very happy to interact with all this metal gubbins.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was fantastic, really.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've definitely had some disagreements with conversations between other people because they're like, yeah, but like it looked kind of shit, and I'm like, yeah, but it was. I was like, what are you comparing this to? Because the only thing I think that would be a fair comparison would be some of that IRL stuff they've done in Fortnite. Like, where you can run around.
What was remember the KDA more AR mod put in for that World Finals? They didn't go down well, remember? Like, they were not well managed in the live show. So I think you compare it to that.
You still see random screenshots of Evelyn in the many different faces, or Ari faces.
Seraphine.
Oh god, the Kaiser! Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the original AR models from 2018 were pretty okay. But I think, obviously, with the way that Worlds was a little bit sort of in a difficult position with COVID restrictions, I understand why they're a bit janky. But I actually think this one, considering it was all being mocapped live, a lot of it was really, really cool. And actually, the facial animations in terms of tracking the mouth and stuff were pretty on point. Yes, some of the graphic and like the textures were a little bit sort of like, it felt like it was Brutal Legend.
Yes,
good game though. Good game if you're gonna rip anything.
That game is like literally this, and I loved it. And the fact is, actually, the character models were pretty okay considering that. And I actually think I like things like tracking the guitarist as they were like Mordekaiser as he was doing the solos and stuff was pretty on point as well. So yes, it was a little bit janky. Yes, it wasn't exactly true to life, but it wasn't all bespoke animations. It was all kind of being mocapped at the time. I think it was a brilliant idea, and especially considering the theming, I think a little bit of jank is more than acceptable.
And continually do this stuff, and it's free. So like, what are you like? You're complaining about getting free music and free music videos and an experience. I don't know. I really liked it. I had a great time doing a Sona appreciation posts about any time Sona was on screen, because my girl only got like a few seconds on screen before it immediately cut over to another member. So I was like, no, must cherish the queen. But I thought it was
Sona
great.
fan cam? You just Pentakill Sona fan cammed.
Oh my god, I should have changed my name for a period of time for that. Oh, I missed it. Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
Oh. She might be one of my favorite champions in League, ladies and gentlemen.
I like the Pentakill Sona skins. It's cool. The rock shake vibes are cool. I like it. I met because the skins are now out. I'm like, okay, now I have another skin to buy. Yes, Riot. Okay. Yes, Riot. I'm here for another Ari skin.
I'm just very glad they gave me the ultimate one for free, and I didn't have to buy that one because I re-rolled it. I got super lucky on it.
GG.
But that was it. Cool. So we're all pretty positive on the Pentakill stuff. Go watch it or listen to it if you haven't. It's a sick album. Yeah, really sick. I've had it on once or twice just in the background, and
I didn't expect Lightbringer to sound as good acoustically as it did. I think that
I've not listened to the acoustic.
On the whole, I think if a song doesn't always have to sound well acoustic to be a good song, but you know a song is good if it sounds good. If you can play it all amped up and then also strip it down, and it's got the core elements which you can then make into a good acoustic song. I think like a really good example of this was like if we're going back to really early 2000s edgy stuff, Dario Jane by Breaking Benjamin. It works in both forms. You can kind of see how Zombie.
Oh, yeah, Zombie, yeah. I know that one.
So actually, like the acoustic Lightbringer was pretty good actually, and I rarely think that power metal stuff is that transferable because it has to have that pomp and glamour a lot of the time. So that was actually quite a nice surprise. I thought that was pulled off pretty well.
Cool. So go do it. Pentakill. Good shit. Riot is one of the best music labels out there that occasionally make video games. We're still waiting on like multiple more games. Gentlemen, we've not really talked about this, and I didn't put it in the show notes, but it just popped into my head because we've been talking about Viego and everything. What's our thoughts on the Ruined King now that whole storyline, at least in League of Legends, lore-wise, is finished? Now there is a full game. We must put that out there. There's a full game coming out, which is going to be covering everything. There's a fighting game, which apparently is going to the fighting games has nothing to do. Just pretend I didn't even say that.
There's the dungeon crawler thing, which might have a thing with it.
Yeah. So there is a rant coming, not in this podcast.
Okay.
But there is a rant about Riot and their inability to do lore in-game that there's a lot of rage and a lot of professional frustration, considering that was kind of my previous aim was narrative design stuff. So not well impressed by how they implement a lot of the base game lore of the Ruined King. Now, when the game comes out, I'm hoping for better stuff. That said, I actually think Pentakill Viego had a wonderful bit of lore. Like, you go back through the Twitter account of Riot Games Music, and you go listen to his voiceovers of everything, and this incredible, ridiculous lore of dissonance and all the various gods of metal and this sort of giant, macabre, gothic churches to Pentakill, who are the gods' chosen few who represent everything. Like, Viego in that is wonderful. Really good story, and I think that's and again, it falls into this problem where Riot Games are fantastic at doing lore for individual skin lines, where the scope is a lot narrower, where they can focus on a few chapters of their interactions and not worry about character consistency and lore consistency.
So just looking at chat, actually, I think there's a very good point which backs up what you're saying. So Vasu, who is a person who I know who pops into my stream and through a couple of mutual Discord servers, so that they tried too much what they did. Do you think they tried to emulate too much what they did in Spirit Bonds? And this kind of goes on to the whole, it's easier to do this in a more self-contained skin line or something like that. Did they try and apply that to the larger setting and fail because of like the self-containedness kind of not being there?
So, in theory, no. In practice, what they do is try to because I actually think the system is a really cool system and they shouldn't drop it. That said, if you're going to do a kind of visual novel, story beats kind of style of thing, you needed to not follow the same thematic style as Spirit Blossom in terms of just random beats of humor from random characters in their kind of base skin lines really didn't work. I think they needed to strike a different tone, at least with some of it. And I also think that if you're going to do it story beat style, it needs to be a lot more inventive than, we've stumbled into a new fragment of Isolde in a random location.
I have to
Hooray!
say,
Viego comes up and steals it. Like, you've got to be more inventive than that.
so I'd say I have played a fair amount of visual novels, particularly ones which like anime have then come forward from. So stuff like the Fate Stay Night novel, the original one like that, and a couple of others, are really good at doing dark moments. It's not a problem of the genre. So I've had experience. I think one of the reasons I rate this so harshly is that I've had experiences with the medium which have been better at dealing with subject material that is similar to what they've done.
The moment you said spirit bombs, I immediately had to Google it, and I was like, I only had a magic card. Only had a magic card in my head the whole time. That was a sideboard card. I was like, what is going on? No. I agree. I completely agree with both of you. I think there's a lot of things. I am very much looking forward to your rant video or essay or whatever you do with it, Samuel.
Yeah.
I think that would be highly interesting. And I absolutely agree with you, Alex, because I actually think, quite frankly, as that's apparently my word of the phrase of the week at the moment.
Phrase?
League of Legends IRL. So if we think about the real world, that is kind of the world of League of Legends in the traditional Earth realm, where they've got the pop star line, where Evelyn is a fangirl of Pentakill, and the whole idea of Pentakill is their shows. This is all a show of everything getting destroyed. In reality, they're just on a stage playing. You've got Nurse Akali, you've got Delivery Girl Siva, and my partner and I, we were just like, man, the lore of the real world League of Legends is far more interesting than the actual lore of the game. I'm like, well, it makes more sense. I connect more with
characters haven't had their lore rewritten to be different characters every other patch.
Well, I mean, case in point, three different lore changes.
Well, I don't even bother with Diana or Leona now because
what are the Darkin anymore?
No, who's the Darkin? Oh, what's happening with the I do like how the Yordles haven't been touched, but we don't know anything about the Yordles really.
Well, they never had lore to begin with.
Neither does the Void. Like
True.
that. Oh god. We'll have to wait and see. I'm glad we had the brief conversation about this, gentlemen. We do have to start talking about League Esports because we are a League Esports podcast first and foremost. Play-in draw hasn't been announced yet, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one thing I am allowed to announce here. When the date has been confirmed, assuming the three of us are available, we are planning to do our live stream response or reaction or
live viewing.
Live viewing.
Co-streaming is when you have the actual footage on screen. Live viewing is when you don't have that, but like you have like a timer on it so you can sync up both streams at once. So we'll be doing that. So if you want an LJL perspective on things, we'll do that for you.
Absolutely. I'm also trying to work out a way to make it convenient for people to just click a button in our Twitch chat, or not on the Twitch chat. No, to click a link in our Twitch chat, and you can just get the side by side, and it will be perfectly synced up. There are a few websites which do that. It's just figuring out the correct way to generate the link. Don't worry, that's the only one I can announce to you all right here, right now, because play-in draws are really important, and we want to talk about that as soon as it happens. Potentially, it might be a bonus podcast episode. We don't know.
We'll see.
But we do know the format. So, gentlemen, let's quickly talk about the format of play-ins because, well, last time it came around, we were actually pretty excited and we thought this was a great shot for V3. Nymaera, can you run me over what the play-in format is for anyone that's not in the loop?
Okay, so I don't have a graphic for this, but effectively what it is, because the VCS teams cannot attend this event, therefore, one of the VCS teams would have been in groups. We would have VCS1 in groups, and then the other one would have been in play-in, so VCS2 would have been there. VCS2 no longer being able to compete leaves us with an odd number of teams, which means that you need to remove another team to make an even number, which then makes your groups a lot easier to manage, which means that Rogue has been bumped up into the group stage, leaving us with 10 teams. It used to be 12, now it's gone down to 10. So what will happen is there are, we assume to be the Pool 1 teams of, which are the teams from multiple seed regions. So that is going to be LPL 4, LCK 4, EU, of course, isn't there anymore, so it's going to be NA3 and then PCS2. So those are effectively our big fish teams. Those are going to be in our pool 1. Then all of, if there is a mic crackle, Sam, that. Hang on, let's have a listen. How bad is the micro? 1, 2, 1, 2.
It keeps coming through.
Okay, see, this might be a problem because when this happens,
Boy,
I
here we
often have to
go.
reset my PC, so we might have to battle through this, sadly.
Okay.
But effectively, all of the minor regions, the single seed regions, will be put into Pool 2. You're going to have 2 teams from your Pool 1 in each group. There are 2 groups, and then 3 wildcards to the 6 remaining teams, 3 in each one. So then what you have is a single round robin, best of 1 between all of the teams. Each of the 5 teams will play each other just the one time. The 5th team automatically disqualified from Worlds 2021. First seed automatically qualifies for groups. Then you have 2nd through to 4th, so you've got those 3 teams. We'll then go into a series of best of 5s. 3rd and 4th play off against each other in a best of 5 in the same group, and the winner of that goes on to face the 2nd seed from the other groups. There is like the 3rd and 4th winner of that cross groups over to the 2nd seed. Why we thought this would be good in 2020 is because 5th is really good. You get best of 5 experience and all this other stuff.
Yep.
Well, I didn't have a V3 because they kind of shit the bed really heavily, but we expect, again, DFM to be coming in quite strong, and hopefully, and I think this is better for the minor regions in general, we're going to see some good best of 5s, going to see a good showing from all of these teams in a good number of games.
Sam, what's your reaction to all of this, the playing format being like this? Do you think it heavily favors DFM, who are obviously just great at best of 1 environments?
I think it does. Also, in the sense, I also just think it's a really cool format. Bluntly, I think the fact there is a world where 2 teams actually go straight into groups, fantastic news. I think the other thing is there is some best of 5. The groups are pretty big. You've still got a chance, even if you're not, those top 2 teams straight from the round robin, to go through. That's fantastic news. I'll add in a little caveat that there was a post that was put up this morning by Gum and I think possibly, I want to say, Buffaloes from VCS.
Second Buffalo. They were the 2nd team in spring.
Effectively suggesting that they've still not entirely given up hope about attending Worlds, basically, and that Riot are still trying to get something through with Vietnamese government. I don't think it will happen. I think it is a last gasp effort.
Notice, and they've already announced they won't be there, so difficult.
I know. I'm saying this was a new post that came out a few hours ago, so maybe there's a small world where they end up attending. I don't think it happens, but it's worth keeping that in mind that some of these teams are still not given up, and you absolutely understand why.
Check out the VCS English Twitter account for probably all updates regarding that one, as they'll probably be your best spot of action and news information that's reliable, because they will only confirm something if they know for sure one of their teams is going to be there, because I imagine the team is clamoring. I know those guys will be clamoring for any news on their teams attending, because they are genuinely the fountains of knowledge and the oracles of that region, similar to us. So we'll have to wait and see. I love that we're going back to this players format. This honestly, with the rise that DFM are having, this not only feels like we could definitely be in a crazy world, depending on who we get in our group. And obviously, we don't know the groups yet.
Nope.
But I think there are a few of these top seeds who should be trembling in their boots against DFM right now.
I would be unbeatable.
No, I absolutely think we could beat all of the Pool 1 teams. I think not on a good day, and we happen to get everything go our way. I think we've already shown it versus Cloud9. So we know we can do that one. Beyond Gaming is reasonably comparable because PSG were kind of this...
Not
kind of
miles,
similar.
At least at the top end.
Yeah, from what we've heard in scrims and everything else. So it's a little bit of hearsay, but yeah.
Sure.
Thumbs up.
Educated hearsay.
Yes. And then Homeway Live. Well, if you listen to the Pog State, and if you're not listening to the Pog State and you're listening to us, well, I'm not sure what you're doing, but thank you, mate. Because I mean, hey, why not? Good. You know where to come for your news. Homeway Life were not rated as a team, and most people didn't even have Chovy or Deft in their top 5 players from the region. So that puts us in at least in a place of everyone was expecting. What was the team that was Peanut?
Nongshim Red Force.
Nongshim. Everyone was expecting Nongshim. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that
they got slapped though.
And Deft and Chovy really did turn up in the gauntlet.
They did, yeah.
Absolutely earned their place at Worlds. They've turned it on at the right time. My question is whether they can keep that form up or whether it was a rare return to form. Of course, I mean, they're like Deft, Chovy, two of the greatest players the LCK has ever produced. Generally speaking, I think that's fair to say. So
The other part.
For the other part, I mean, in fairness, support that Deft's with.
Vista?
Is it Vista?
Vista?
It is Vista. Okay.
Yeah.
Had
Vista.
also a phenomenal gauntlet. Like the guy was all over the place doing some amazing stuff.
Man, his Lulu in that third game against Nong.
So I mean, if he can keep that kind of that sort of form up into play-ins, then HLE should not be slept on. But I kind of agree. HLE are inconsistent enough and have enough weaknesses elsewhere that if you can manage Chovy
Also
to the
Morgan.
point where all he does is farm, then you're kind of potentially
It'd be Morgan, dude.
Yeah.
Morgan's
So
not
not to get ahead of ourselves, but
No,
you
no,
look
no,
at a team like Hanwha Life, and there are significant weaknesses. DFM is a team which has significant strengths. Some of our strengths match up against strengths, some of them match up against weaknesses. Again, Arya versus Chovy, gonna be a hell of a matchup if they end up in the same group.
yeah.
Top lane, yeah, Morgan is not the strongest top lane. Actually, did end up solo killing Kana in one of those games and had an okay showing on the Aurelia and whatever. Actually had one of those good games, but it's rarely have they managed to stand up and be a primary carry. Even looking at a team such as that, which is coming from LCK, obviously a very talent-stacked, historically strong region, we reckon that DFM have a shot. It's a single best of one. You don't even get to adapt in the second round robin. That could come back to bite us. However, looking across all of the Pool 1 teams, it's not... Would I say I favor DFM versus them? I wouldn't say it's always as clear-cut as that.
Yeah.
But if you're facing two of them, you get two chances at it. There's a good chance that you do snatch one game off of that. And that potentially is enough if you're not losing to the minor regions, the other two in the group, that you can actually get through in first even. So as much as we need to kind of curtail our expectations to an extent and keep it realistic, setting down the right logic, it stands to see that potentially DFM could have a very strong showing in play-ins.
Yeah, and there's a lot of chances for Detonation Focus Me. Obviously, we won't go much further down this rabbit hole, but the copium's coming, boys. The copium's coming. I'm not expecting first. And I think that's the important part for me. I don't know about you guys. I just want to quickly talk about this before we get the groups drawn. We can actually go, well, I think in this group we should get X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Just looking at it blindly, I think expecting first is ridiculous. I think you are getting some very big copium going. I do think we could steal second though. And I absolutely
the best one. Yep.
And easily in a third or fourth. If we get third, that's fine. We'll win the round robin, and we'll play second seed. Like I genuinely believe DFM in a best of one, in a best of 5 versus other, and this is important, other minor regions. I think we're slightly favored. But if we go our first one and we're not second, and we're playing against a tier 1 region, it might be a bit more difficult in the first round. But we'll see. We'll see. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'm not expecting first. I think it is, call it 10-15% chance. It's like it's not outside of it. It's
more
not
than we had last time.
But
it's a possibility.
But the thing with this format is there's so much variance. It's 5 best of ones with different matchups. It's just so much variance. There are going to be random games dropped and picked up. Like it's gonna happen. I would expect on gut instinct third pushing second. I think you're right there. I think that. And again, like from what we've heard from hearsay in terms of scrims and whatever, DFM do seem to be like the dark horse of play-in stage outside of the Pool 1 teams. You're expecting the next team on the list to be a DFM. The question is whether they can snipe an extra game to push into that second slot and therefore not have to face one of these top 4 teams. And even in a best of 5 versus someone like Beyond or C9, I think that's a competitive matchup. So we are, again, hoping for great things.
And who knows, we might get an LGD this time around and they won't have that opportunity to win the tiebreaker match versus V3 this time because DFM will be second place already. They'll get knocked out and Chinese number 4 seed won't even make it out, get it into the knockout stage.
And then we can hoping the LJL could do all right. Let's hear his hope. The vengeance would be nice from last year.
It'd be nice considering how disappointing the result was for the LJL last year. Gentlemen, talking about Worlds, we've got a few things to talk about. considering that we haven't actually spoken about it, but we do now have the patch notes, at least for 11.18 is now out. 19 is being rumored, and we'll do a bit of talking about the rumored notes for 19. But gentlemen, 11.18, that was the game. Well, it was a huge patch where it looks like a lot happened. But if I look at my games and compare patches between 17 to 18, there's not a huge difference in win rates and champions. There are a few that are coming on the rise, but some of them also haven't changed. What are our thoughts on these two patches, or potentially just 18 as it's out? What are your thoughts on them?
I'm just looking for the 11.19 notes because they were
It's
posted on
in the
Twitter.
document.
That is very kind of you. I'll go look there then. Sam,
I did it for I hyperlinked it because I'm nice like that. So 11.19 is going to be the Vex patch. So she's going to be coming out on that one. Obviously, we've got all of her.
She won't be enabled for Worlds though, will she?
No, neither will Akshan. He won't be enabled either for Worlds because no region played him.
It has to be available on every single region, or I'm not sure if it's every major region, but every region vaguely is playoffs. If it's not available for playoffs, then you can't play in a Worlds.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think some of the big notable ones for me currently between these two patches is obviously. I'm just going to say some picks that I'm expecting to see at Worlds, and we can kind of give our thoughts, because I think that's kind of the best stance to start talking about it. Like every other fucking e-boy on the internet, Trynd mid is gonna be played at Worlds, probably.
Yeah, probably.
It's not even new at this point. It's just kind of making sure I'm covering all bases at
and
this
you know
point.
What's really funny? So I used to
Have
hate playing against
it? No? Okay.
I used to hate playing against Tryndamere in solo queue. Till I picked up one champion, which actually got to my highest peak rank, Quinn. If you play Quinn into Tryndamere, Tryndamere hates it. Because you take Phase Rush, you max W, you take Exhaust, he never kills you, and you fly around the map faster than him.
Here comes the Crimson Chin!
there are answers into Tryndamere, because at the end of the day, he's a melee ADC with not that much ability to like stick on a target if they have peel tools. Very, very good into Lucian. But and of course we had the Lucian changes coming in too.
A lot of Vayne picks at the moment as well for top lane Tryndamere.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm trying to
top lane Trynd, not mid lane Trynd.
Yeah. I'm trying.
That's
to
a different environment.
I'm trying to remember what people have been playing into it.
Caps did it a couple years ago. Remember, it's just, true. You got to have very specific comps for it.
I've seen a few people genuinely no shitting you play Heimerdinger.
Yeah, because you yeah, you just put Zhonya's in your turrets, and he's walking around. You're like, oh crap, I can't hit the guy.
Oh, literally yelling, and he can't do anything.
Yeah.
I've got a stun, and yeah, it's just like, this is miserable.
Exactly.
Like, I think the other one that's worth keeping an eye on is like Zed jungle. By the way,
yeah,
looking like it's gonna be all over the place.
Dude, if you watch, what's the Aussie guy that does all of the pro reaction stuff and is really on top of it? Midbeast. Man, that man has put up like 3 videos of just Zed jungle. Like he's farming that content. Rightly fucking so, may I add, because oh my god, does it seem broken?
Yes.
Why is it broken?
He clears ridiculously quickly. It's the main reason. Like his early clears are insanely fast.
It's like the second fastest or third fastest at the moment, isn't it?
Quick.
It's unreasonable.
Very quick. And the thing is, it also means you don't you can avoid things like, I am playing Zed mid and I have been counterpicked. Well, bollocks. And that makes things a lot easier.
But the flex is nice too.
Yeah, the flex is pretty nice. You're actually not a bad ganker in the sense you've got quite a lot of mobility. You probably do want a bit of setup for some hard CCs, but you actually can at least follow up on setup really quickly as Zed.
Also, just another strong AD jungler. Like AD junglers have been pretty good recently.
Yeah.
Because like we had that point where it was like AP junglers playing Diana, playing your AD mid stuff, like, you know, Diana Lucian was the combo for most of this. Like, we're kind of moving back towards AP junglers again, AD junglers again. That can very much help with that, particularly when you've got like, I don't know, like something like Zed Syndra sounds like an ADC's worst nightmare. Yeah, so I'm a pretty large Zed player myself. I believe it's but behind, of course, this
the Shrine.
The Shrine, which I've now had on official Riot broadcasts, and that just makes me chuckle to no end. Zed is my second most played, and the thing is with Zed having challenging smite, it's just unfair. I challenge you, Spy. It's just not a fair summoner spell.
Not fair.
So you run into him, and the thing is, like, one of the things about Zed Jungle, which is kind of nasty to play around, is that so level 3 is obviously very important for your combo. Once you get level 4 on Zed, if you hit a double shuriken, because you get the extra point, the extra damage on obviously both shurikens. If you hit a double shuriken with level 4, you just nuke people. They cannot fight against you. So, and if you have a very fast first clear, and then you get to go into a scuttle, get that level 4 off the scuttle, you are just very hard to fight. Even stuff like Jin Zhao Lee Sin will very much hate playing against you at that point.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, we're seeing the rise of other junglers. Talon, in that same kind of vein, it seems legit. I'm less sold on the Talon. I do prefer the Zed. I think that is a fair assessment, but I do like the idea of it.
Talon's great in the sense you've got wall jumping. The thing with Talon jungle as opposed to something like Talon mid is that
oh no, Talon mid I'm not a fan of.
I like Talon mid because I used to
of
play
course,
a lot, but yeah.
Of course,
specifically the reason like the difference is that obviously your kind of parkour cooldown. What's the name? It's Noxian. There's not Noxian Diplomacy. What's the jump called? There's a name for it. I forget.
Noxian Diplomacy used to be the cutthroat thing, yeah.
Yes. But... I can't remember what the jump is called at the minute anymore.
Anyway, yeah.
The point is that obviously it puts terrain on cooldown, and that's frustrating if you're wanting to clear quickly because you can't jump walls. If you do jump walls, you have to bring your whole
the thing is
cooldown.
So, but what I will say is that as soon as you hit level 3, your invade potential is absolutely monstrous because Talon level 2 is one of the most front-loaded bursts in the game. So I used to be a top 400 Talon in the EU West back in Season 8. I was like... It was completely inflated because I went like 10-0 in my first 10 games, and I was like, oh, I'll just get back to Diamond again and stuff like that. So I went like through my plat stuff with that. But Talon
why not?
He was just a jungler's worst nightmare because you walk into a W, and if you hit a 2-part W, someone just dies at early levels. You don't have the Ignite to buff that up, but... And the thing is, Sam, you're completely right. And also, we have a bit of esports royalty in the chat because Ashley Kang has also echoed those thoughts in terms of saying, seeing a lot of Zed mid from this as well. Because it's the follow-on effect, right? Because it gives you the ability to flex around. Solo queue is a little bit different, right? Because you don't really care about the overall draft. But stuff like Talon and Zed, even if you're picking something like Syndra, which has been very high priority, Syndra has in the past been pretty bad against a lot of AD assassins that can outplay you like that, particularly with something like Zed as well, where you can play against control mages, and if they have like one particularly bad ability you need to dodge, say something like the Scout of the Week from the Syndra, or Orianna's throwing a ball at you, you can just switch to your Shadow and dodge that. This is like one of Faker's old just basic tips on Zed. It's like identify the one thing you need to dodge it with Shadow, and then you're all in. And that's the kind of play you can have against a lot of control mages right now, particularly if you manage to get that wave on your own side of the lane. So it's not like you can't play them, but now there's actually the way to draft around it too, which gives you that extra flexibility. So I'm very interested in seeing that. And whether we get to see someone like Arya on these picks.
But no, what you just said though, we've been talking about the flex with the Zed. You get to do the exact same thing with the Talon. Yeah, exactly. So it's got. Exactly. I'm so looking forward to co-viewing this and just being like, so Nymaera, let's talk about draft flexibility. And the whole draft, we're just like, this can go here and there, and then they can do this, and like all the numbers coming down as the matrix.
I might really dumb. Like decide to go. We're flexing Gnar mid, and Alex getting really sad.
Oh, because there's some really fun combos. Because so particularly on Talon, I might lose my shit if we. So there's basically a thing which I call like the flower combo, because like you flash W ult, so you've got like this whole like explosion of blades everywhere, and it's kind of like your old almost like season 4 Talon play where you just like dive in and just hit everyone with all the AOE. Of course, you can only activate your passive on one person, so it's much more single targeted. But there's some really fun instant one shot combos which AD carries just can't do anything about. Fun.
Random thing that popped into my mind while you mentioned that Ari had appeared on stream. I was like, man, I need to try and get my Mox Opals, my magic cards again, because I've had that on Wizards official stream when I've been on feature matches. So now I'm like, all right, so if I get them right, I've got to figure out a way to get those on there. Okay. Anyway, unrelated but absolutely important. Talon, Zed, another AD mid that I'm expecting, Qiyana.
Which, of course, we have seen precisely one Qiyana game from Arya. And this was in 2020 spring versus Rascal Jesters, and this is when Ninja played Soraka into it, and very nearly. Actually, it was a really good game from Ninja. He survived being solo killed like a good 3 times on single-digit HP. That was a game which Rascal Jesters actually won, but Arya looked good on the pick mechanically. So
CGA.
This is on CGA, yes. So obviously Arya's only been on DFM this year, but oh god, did I say it wrong? Oh god.
No. I'm just making that clarification.
Oh, no. All of these tricodes with. Because literally, CJ and DFM are both blue teams as well. It's like in my subconscious.
In your mind.
But I think it's fair to say that looking at all these picks, because we're eventually going to like zoom out again, but particularly with this pick, I want to do it again, is that we expect Arya, in terms of mid lane picks, to be able to play anything. He's played supportive style, even though I'm like, oh, he doesn't play Galio, and he doesn't play Galio, and that might be a thing, but he plays Seraphine, he's played Lulu mid, and then he's gone towards his Assassins too at points. We expect him to be able to play absolutely everything to a very high level. Very excited to see what he can do on Assassin.
This was the whole reason that we wanted Arya to come to DFM. If you listen back to us at the end of summer and then coming in, because we do an episode before we even get announcements of rosters and everything, we're like, DFM, if they want any hope, sorry, Cyros, you're gonna have to take a step down for a bit. Arya has to come in, and this is it. Like, it's make or break time. We predicted this without actually knowing the information. It's come true. This was the reason, because they needed a mid laner who could facilitate a huge amount. They could play the supportive stuff. They could also play the cheese. They can play the engage, the assassin. He did so much of just the hard 1v9ing on CGA that's why we wanted him on DFM. But boys, we've seen Kiana from him before. We've been talking about a certain top laner before we started this podcast. We need to talk about him a little bit more. It's Ebby in the top lane. One of our criticisms is that potentially that might be a weak spot for teams to attack his champion pool. What about, though, if I threw out there a champion that I think I'm expecting to play? Shen top lane.
Shen's up there. It's an option, especially if they're going towards the Leona for gang. And basically, if they're focusing bot, then Shen is always an option. My one problem with Ebby Shen, and you watch his win rate on Shen, it's not fantastic, mainly because he just says, let's fucking go, every time he plays.
I mean, at least he's committed in my eyes.
But he's just the most aggro Shen rival I have ever seen.
The last time we saw Shen from Ebby was in Spring Finals versus V3.
Oh, no, yeah.
And it was totally not his fault this time. Wait, was that the Shen or was that the Cho'Gath?
It was.
Yeah, it was. And I believe this was a game where he was playing
both
around.
Both the champions.
Yeah, I think so this would have been game 2 in the finals this spring if you want to go look at the last time we saw Ebby Shen. I believe his mid jungle was a Hecarim Kassadin, and they chose to fight before Hecarim Kassadin are relevant champions.
Yeah, they ran it down at like the first 5 minutes.
This does not reflect on Ebby's skill on the champion Shen. You look back towards 2019 was the last time he's played it seriously, actually, so it's been out for a little while.
Yes.
But I think the thing about something like playing Shen top is it's a very different style to what DFM have typically played. They normally play around a pressure valve in the top lane, playing around Gnar, which can bully out if he's given the option. Stuff like the Renekton set as well. You want someone... Ebby, typically this split has succeeded on champions that can kind of do all their own stunts. And then, like, be their own point of agency and then move elsewhere. Shen is... I mean, if you think about Impact's Shen, that's a different kind of story, right? Where actually he can win out with one early gank and then suddenly... He's a huge split push threat who can turn up to the fights, all of this extra kind of stuff that you can play around.
That's not how Ebby plays.
And not this split. And again, we have seen him go towards that before, but I know you were kind of talking about, okay, Mel, maybe we consider Ebby to be a weak point in terms of like the champion pool to attack. To qualify that, basically Ebby has been blind picking so much, we don't know what happens when Ebby is taken off of Set, Renekton, Gnar, Tahm Kench. We don't know what happens. I'm academically quite interested to see what happens, to see if DFM can play around Ebby with a different style, but it's not something we've had answered yet.
DFM's go-to this split, for sure.
But there's also the fact that DFM have had to have, like, every team they've played against has gone, well, we have to ban 2 of the bans over to mid lane because Arya's fucking terrifying on LeBlanc and Aurelia. And that's just the first 2 that every team decided they had to ban. Yeah. Sometimes we'd get random shit thrown bot lane. Like, it was like, sometimes we just see a ban go out and we're like, okay, they're just clearly terrified of something and we just don't know it. Sometimes it was a jungle ban. It was all over the place. The only thing I am quickly doing, and I've just done this while you guys were chatting, Ebby has been hard spamming games of Tryndamere. Like,
Of course he has.
a lot, like over the last
Of
two,
all the
like 3
players
or 4
on
days.
DFM to pick up Tryndamere, it would be Ebby.
Yeah, so no, but that's definitely a flex, right? Because they could definitely go pick the Tryndamere and go, well,
Yeah.
where's it gonna go? Is it gonna go top? Is it
Yeah.
gonna go mid? We don't know, and I expect Arya to be able to play that. So if it is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
super pick priority in the meta,
We expect the DFM solo lanes to be able to play anything. It's just basic. For me, it's less about not the individual capability to play it. It's just what the team wants to be able to achieve with that pick. Which is kind of why when, I don't know, what compositions were DFM not great around playing? I mean, they were doing better
their
with
pick
like...
comps were pretty questionable, where they would try and find one pick and then snowball after that. They weren't great at that, but that was because that's what they did very early long, like week 3, week 4, which was their messier time when they were still working things out as a team. So I don't want to kind of quantify and say that
They
really,
can't play that, yeah.
because they played 1-3-1
so-
really well when they showed it to us.
Yeah, for sure, they did. I mean, particularly when it has stuff like the Rise, but then actually one of the big things that obviously Rise is getting heavy hits coming into Worlds, particularly with whenever you hit Rise's E cooldown, it affects his ability to do pretty much everything in the game. And even with like a quarter of a second taken off of it, that means that when you go for like a flash route, there's actually a chance to flash out before the second EQ comes out, which is a big amount of the damage that comes through after that point. So I don't know whether Rise is going to be a champion at Worlds because of that, actually, because even though he does scale up, a lot of his individual plays, which have been part of the core of his identity, are not going to be there, and DFM looked really good with Rise. We'll put a pin in that and see how that works out.
We're also going to have to see, because every other mid laner coming into this Worlds also was a Rise 1 trick as well. So it's going to be
every mid
Rise LeBlanc, less so Aurelia, but there were a lot of the Korean mids were still playing a lot of Aurelia mids. So that's going to be slightly interesting and terrifying to see where things go. But obviously 11, 18, and 19 had a lot of changes. Predators getting buffed, not for the reason that I think Riot did it. I think Galio mid's going to be fucking broken, may I add. Oh, and by the way, do you know who Ace for last Worlds, who got the highest LP out of anyone, who was hard spamming games of Galio mid in the EUS solo queue? Oh, it was Arya, ladies and gentlemen. It's always Arya. It's all about Arya, Amumu support. Korg JJ is kind of making people's lives absolute hell on EUS solo queue. What are we talking about, lads?
Big change here was they have given Bandage Toss a second charge.
I don't know why.
So, and that was always Amumu's main problem.
So broken.
You miss your Q and you're a glorified cannon minion. I feel like that's an Ari main.
In fact, it is, but it's not just
your
that.
charm.
Like, the thing is, it pulls you in as well. Like, it's how you get in range for your R unless you want to flash. So the ability in early lane to be more than just like, I throw my Q and I miss and now I have to walk away feeling really sad and get run down. You can Q in and then wait and Q again if you want to fully all in, or you can Q in and then Q back to a minion to get out as well. Like, you have actually got a few play patterns there as a Mumu without the Q being like incredibly damned if you do, damned if you don't, and that's a massive deal. And then once you hit 6, holy moly, Q once the R runs out, it's just
with
30
Anathema's
seconds
chains.
of CC.
Yeah,
it is obscene. Yeah, Anathema's chains as well, and people just don't get to move. It is obscene.
No, and then this is assuming you don't have something like a Morgana, a Braum, a Leona just there to just be like, hey lads, let's do some chaining action. Let's combo people down.
Yeah, and particularly in support as well. It's one of the few champions because it's passive, which then it affects magic damage on your team, which allows you to play double AP bot if you want. You can play stuff like Karthus, Syndra for the extra stun as well. You know, chain everything into each other.
Ona has been getting that a bit as well, but I don't want to. Sorry.
Yeah, no, there are definitely mages you can play bot lane. We know that Utapon has
Soraka, I think, is the big one. Yeah,
he's not a bad Syndra play. He's not a bad Vladimir play.
Syndra, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that that's the first thing that came to mind was, hey, true damage on Syndra sounds really quite bluntly unfair. So, we know that Utapon had. So the last time that Utapon played a lot of. That's true. Yeah,
he does.
Yeah. So the last time we saw that Utapon play Mage's bot would have been spring 2020, and again that would have mainly been that Syndra.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
I know there was
we
Ziggs.
saw it in summer.
Ziggs is the other one as well, but
yeah. Oh yeah, he's got 3. That's insane, man.
So there's stuff there. We know that Utapon is one of the most multi-talented players actually in World League of Legends history. I know you think, oh, he's just this one player from this like tiny region which no one cares about. Utpod has played at the pro level for 8 years, has not been subbed out ever, so he has the longest starting...
And he played multiple roles.
He's played every role but mid in competitive. Most of that did come from Season 4, but he was a top player in Season 7, I think, so like much later into his
Something
career.
like that, yeah.
He plays everything. He was the rank 1 player on the Japanese Overwatch server for a while. He wanted to go pro in Valorant, but his schedules didn't match up with being a pro player of League as well, which he was also Radiant in. The guy does everything. So it's really not a surprise that he does have like the multi-talentedness to apply to League of Legends as well. He can play pretty much whatever you want him to.
He's broken speedrun games. The man literally does random stuff. Well, of course he does.
Yes, that was a really funny one. So
great clip.
If you want to hear more about like the players as personalities, someone in kind of like in our community and does a lot of their own content and stuff is a person called Sunshine Hina, who does a lot of translations on, and we do mention them every couple of podcasts because they do really good stuff. And a lot of the stuff we learned about Utpon was, oh lol, they talk about it in interviews, and then Hina goes and translates those. But when you got stuff like the Amumi, also stuff that we haven't, because I know that we're kind of trawling through a lot of these champions. Watch Carrier's streams, really fun right now. I think in the last stream he played Silas support, Echo support, Lux support, which were all really kind of fun. And I'm wondering whether there will be some scrim experience traded between teams at that point, because that's just really kind of fun.
All right, I will put this out there. I have a horrible feeling that some of these picks are going to be carrier specials. They're not support champions; they're carrier champions. And I have it's going to be one of those ones where he's like, people will play it for the first week at Worlds and go, that was a mistake, and put them away again. Because I do think things like Echo require you to be quite good at the champion and know what you're doing. And I will be interested to see how many supports are bold enough to say, we are picking Echo because all we do is dive. You throw down the parallel convergence, you dive towers. That's what you do with Echo support. And it will be interesting to see who is bold enough, if anyone is bold enough to try that on the international stage.
Are there any other champions, gentlemen? At this exact moment in time, obviously, patch 11.19 hasn't come out yet. 18 has only been out for a week, and well, I only know Silver Q, so I mean, it's not very indicative of what we're going to be seeing in professional play. So, is there any other small champions out there you just want to throw out there as like kind of a bit of bait on the fishing line, just to see for later?
I mean, so I think when it comes, because I kind of want to keep it like to DFM-y kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, the Ryze nerf is going to hurt. I don't know what's going to happen with the Renekton nerfs. That might also hurt as well, because Ryze and Renekton have been such powerful solo laners. Varus is also getting hit. I don't know if that's going to be enough to remove him from the meta. Probably not, but it is going to hurt him because it's his final rank of Q has a higher cooldown, which means that when you do get into mid game, when you're looking to poke people out, and also getting a second arrow off in fights is just going to be that much more delayed, even if it is just by a second. So I think there's a lot of moving parts, and that's kind of one of my worries with the way we're doing this bigger patch. It's just a lot of different stuff compared to the Plavs patch, which we've just seen. But I think basically everything that we've gone through, we have decent enough reasoning to believe that it will, be considered by DFM at the very least. Because again, they're very multi-talented players, very large champion pool, so keep your eyes out.
Currently on the PBE, so this is still PBE for 11.19 at the moment. Renekton is down to get a slight buff back.
Yeah, that's on the 11.19 preview patch. So Jeevan City did put out all of those ones. So Renekton's getting base stat buffs. I think one of the things
base HP increase and base HP per level back.
One of the big things for Renekton is effectively if you use his empowered W, I think it is, his animation to stun you was actually longer than the actual stun duration, so he'd actually self CC himself, even though it's a load of damage. I think they've ended up fixing
that. Seems
now,
fair.
So
that seems fair.
I think
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. You have to animation cancel. If you can't animation cancel, you're not worthy of it.
Animation cancel it with your R was the problem.
You could with Tiamat.
But you couldn't Q. You couldn't animation cancel with your Q. Oh, that's wrong.
No. So this was why.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
So the reason for that was back in the day.
Go on, take us back.
You used to be able to do it with Tiamat.
Or go back.
You used to be able to do it with Tiamat. So what you do, you W Tiamat. There was a whole one-shot combo with lethality Renekton, which was hilariously high amounts of damage, and getting melee range of that champion is not really a good idea. I'm not sure if you can do it with Iron Spike Whip. I don't see it so much on pro games, so I'm actually not so sure about that. Anyway, I'm not a Renekton player, and you can tell now.
The only other one that I would be interested in for DFM-wise is depending on how the Fizz push, because there's an active Fizz push. I mean, we know Arya's pretty good at these the fighting champions, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm interested.
Yeah,
I don't think the Cho'Gath buff will do anything for Cho'Gath, so
Ilya,
RIP
maybe
that
some of
guy.
those changes might see it down towards bot lane with certain
Yeah.
things again. So we might see something like that. As
Oh,
well.
what the
Cho'Gath
Senna Cho'Gath
maybe,
bullshit
yeah.
again.
Yeah,
Okay.
Talia's definitely potentially with some of the workaround changes stuff. Maybe. She's always
Be
a bit of a weird
interesting.
one. There was a couple of bug fixes that need to come through on some of her cooldowns not working as they should. So if those are fixed, then maybe Talia is an option as well.
So we'll have to wait and see. Gentlemen, any other champions, or am I good to go on to the last few stuff?
We've talked meta for a while. It's our first real meta talk in a while, actually. But
We've not done a meta talk for pretty much
a
all
while.
of summer. So let's talk about something more back on DFM and kind of recapping back to the previous episode 30, where we had Joshi and Melvin Izzle on. One of the main comments and kind of conversations that we had was that Axis pushed DFM more than Rascal Jesters did. I want to kind of get your reactions first and foremost to that just blanket statement.
In the last series that they played, absolutely, yeah, Rascal Jesters fell apart. Juggernaut match, sure, we can talk about that one, but in the last couple of series, no. Rascal Jesters were not up to even Axis's level.
So I think it's important that I bring this context up for anyone that isn't aware of the interview that Ebby did with LOL Ninja. By the way, go and read that interview. It's very interesting and kind of gives us a lot more in-depth stuff. Again, going to refer back to also Sunshine Hina. Go check out her Twitter. She has translated all of the post-game interviews that happened after DFM did secure their spot. Ebby has gone into some depth now about why they lost that series versus Rascal Jester, that Juggernaut match specifically. And a huge amount of it has been unveiled. One thing is the players had, for most of the summer split, been unable to leave the house outside of every other week or so to go to convenience store or supermarket. So they had been stuck in the house the gaming house, for several months on end. So tensions were getting high. They've mentioned that the team cohesion wasn't quite there. They were getting under each other's skin, sort of stuff. Like, it's not surprising that they kind of went into this Juggernaut match kind of going, we should win this, and then they didn't. The DFM owner came down and actually had and spoke to the team. First time in DFM history, may I add, that has also happened. So came down and was kind of like, guys, I'm disappointed. And the guys were like, oh my god. Obviously this is all paraphrasing through Ebby and everything. But that was definitely a big thing to come to, which is probably why when it came into the Axis and then Rascal Jester series the next time around, they stomped. And it looked like kind of a different DFM entirely had been playing. And this was something, if you go back and listen to our immediate reaction to the Juggernaut match, all three of us, I mean, I'm definitely going to put my stake down, I was calling it. I thought DFM looked tilted. I did not think their mental was in it. And I was not surprised that they lost in that way, because when they won, it was dominant. And I'm not surprised that when Ebby goes, yeah, we weren't motivated, I'm like, well, that just makes total sense.
It looked like they were out mind gamed in the Juggernaut series. I think that
a bit discoordinated.
Yeah, so I think there are some conclusions I drew from that Juggernaut match, which then obviously maybe aren't so relevant if they do end up facing those issues. But I think that a lot of what we saw in that series was more like DFM just looks so tunnel visioned, both in draft and in game. It felt like they were very constrained in what they were looking at in that game, not understanding what was happening in draft in terms of which traps they were falling into, picking a Carl into with no engage into an Alistair that could stop you from doing anything in fights. Similarly, in-game, over-fighting a little bit and just kind of not understanding the state of the map. It felt like they had tunnel-visioned. I think that wasn't apparent in the finals. I think in the finals, they chose not to take fights pretty well, but I hope that is the real DFM that we're seeing in the semifinals and the finals, because if that turns up at Worlds, that's a very exploitable weakness if they are not aware of what's happening in the game very well.
I think it would. I suspect we won't, and I think clearly there were other things going on that meant they were playing a little on autopilot, and that kind of showed in some of the
pick and ban phase for me.
I think particularly for me, it was that kind of 10 to 15, 20 minute mark as well, where you sort of see DFM are normally very crisp in how quickly they set up for plays to start a skirmish, to start a fight, to set up for stuff. And it was a little bit looser on the day versus Rascal Jester. You can't be that versus a player, particularly like Secret, who has made his career this year in the LJL on basically saying, yep, you're out of position, I'm going. And like he did that a lot in that Juggernaut match.
Yeah, he did. He really did. Secret was just everywhere. Sadly, might be leaving the LJL. As per his Twitter, supposedly he's back in Korea. So,
well,
but it's also off season. Yeah, absolutely. As Alex just said,
if we get another series of players that come in, are really good for 1 year and then leave, I'm going to be most displeased. LJL, I mean, most displeased.
Guys, we gotta hope. All right, so our hopes for this: DFM do well, players stay. The region retains some of this talent, but then also new talent comes up, as well as also new imports coming, because there will be some churn. Obviously, there has to be a little bit of turnover. There always is. It's the LJL. There's we at least don't use the same talent 7 years in a row like LCS does sometimes. But hey, whatever. That's just saying maybe certain players shouldn't still be there. But I do expect DFM to keep. Hey. It's my second favorite region. I can flame it all I like. I might be European, but LEC's third. I mean, LCS, man, fucking hell, it's such a crazy. Like, I hope we get C9 in our group. To put it lightly,
it'll be entertaining. It'll be entertaining.
I think we get.
I'm ready.
2-0,
I'm ready to.
I think we get that 1-0 in the head-to-head. We smash them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Just
but yeah,
shout Scuttle Crab at him and watch him be really scared.
in the all chat, right? Like Steel has to go me and Scuttle, right? And then Blathers just terrified, mental game.
Tilted forever.
Oh, that'd be great. What else about those two series, though, gentlemen? Because obviously we haven't had the full in-depth. No. So firstly, Axis pushing them further. We've agreed with that statement. What does that kind of tell us about Axis? I mean, I know that got the solo kill on Ebby. Like, I know look good in this top lane. Like, some of the rookies actually kind of didn't look terrible. Like, Mega Min didn't have a complete just getting rolled over series versus Arya. Now, obviously, it wasn't a huge amount of kill pressure because it was Rise. And then, well, he then brought out the Twisted Fate and the Aurelia, and we learned why he's not allowed Twisted Fate and Aurelia.
Yeah, so, like, I think Mega Min was a factor in the early game and then just kind of fell off a little bit. And there was the unfortunate solo kill in game 3 where the Aurelia hit 6 and just dives him under tower. Yeah. And it's like, okay.
In a counter pick scenario.
It was like proud of the development of Mega Min, still a little ways to go. And there were some moments of poise, some moments of clutch that weren't quite there in big moments. And against a player like Arya, who was just ruthless with those moments. Called him out a little bit, particularly in that game 3 where actually I think Axis had a really smart draft. I will also shout out that Hoglet tried his heart out this series. Holy moly. Yep. That game 1 was DFM's for such a long time. They were so far ahead, and then Hoglet finds the mother of all like Warthog kick flashes to try and get something back over the wall from the red buff. Like all of these little things. You saw the Viego game as well, where he was like one of the few threats that was going on. The Rumble game in game 3, where he was getting turnaround kills. The Rumble flex in the first place to pull out a complete kind of curveball, really screwed over DFM's comp. Like Hoglet also really tried this series.
Sounds about right to me. I think a lot of the Axis players have given themselves a lot of market value from that kind of series, even in a 0-3.
The fact is that they made it there, and that's an org first, right? It's everything that Sam said. Like the players have had far more development than we ever expected, and most of us never expected them to even make it to play-ins. Oh, to the playoffs rather.
Sure. Well, I mean, if we, I don't think we're going to do like a full section on this because we're kind of running a bit longer anyway. But I'm just going to go over to this one. So basically, this is what we expected to see at the start of the split. This was the highest lowest thing is across all of the votes on this spreadsheet where we thought teams would end up, and basically the only reason the lowest fifth for DFM was there because there's a random.org thing which put in random results. We can see that out of the people on our broadcast team, and then also J663 Beast, who helped us set up the spreadsheet. Most of us, actually only one of us, thought that Axis would make it to playoffs in the first place, and that was Middlecott. So congrats to them for doing that. However, I've got to reduce points to that, because he thought CGA would come third. Either way, looking at Axis, for them to get third, after the spring split they had, which was so dire, this was a huge turnaround for them. Like, absolutely huge. So yeah, crazy for them.
Yeah, it's not remotely. It's like now the sky's well and true to the limit on each of these players on this roster. I think they have definitely. If people weren't watching them, they should be now watching these players. I mean, obviously, I think the standout player for Axis is Honey, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I think all of these rookies, as well as Hoglet, potentially this might be the last split we ever see of Hoglet. So going out with kind of a bang, quite frankly. Yeah. Like, this is a really good showing considering DFM had gone full man mode and gone engaged. Like, can't ask for more, really. What's your thoughts, Sam? On the prediction stuff?
I completely agree. I think Hoglet is one of those people who might get some offers. I think Honey potentially even more likely considering how good he was consistently over the split. I think unfortunately actually for Axis, like the series versus DFM was the one time where he didn't actually have that great a series. Unfortunately, I think DFM actually managed to hold him a bit more accountable for once. But
well, I think that was a good team knowing how to.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I like completely agree. That was the DFM game.
I'd go back and watch Team 2 because the Vayne game from Honey was. I think he played it all right. It was just very sublime team fighting from DFM. It's just shut out Honey. What else can the team do in that game? Not very much.
But outside of that, I mean, gentlemen, we need to also do. Been holding off doing this for 2 episodes now. I've actually been holding off doing something for 2 episodes on the podcast.
Oh gosh! All right,
Alex.
Yes.
Can you go and find the Obama giving himself a medal meme, please?
Oh, for God's sake! Where is it?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to do this either.
Oh, hang on.
Where is it?
Yeah,
I need to prepare myself.
I don't want to do this either. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, we do predictions here. We are planning, or at least I'm planning on trying to do something for Worlds. So we will do a community Worlds prediction because I think that would be a lot of fun. Obviously, all of us are far more interested in play-ins then we'll do groups and everything else, and we'll go off. I am potentially going to try and get in the DMs of another esports potentially covering brand or something, so we can try and do something with them. But we'll see how that goes on. We are going to be co-viewing potentially, so we'll have to figure out that at least for Worlds Play in draw. Remember, so we can maybe try and work something else with that. But we've been doing predictions for now 2 years. First winner was Nymaera, and then it went to Sam. You won summer. You won Worlds prediction. You were very smart then. I got spring. I got the MSI one. And then somehow, with a lot of competition from our community, I don't know how, but we've kept the crown between the 3 of us. We're very good at this, gentlemen, considering that the first 2 we didn't have it, and then we've opened it up to the community, and then we've kept it for another year. Like, geez, what? We're just this good at it. Is it on stream, Alex?
Yes, it is. There you go. Feel
well done, Initialise. You are now proud.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no,
I want to take this moment to thank my family. Thank you, Alex, for hinting your predictions.
I'll screw off.
I want to thank Lexi as well for being a manager and managing his own predictions so badly, but the LJL so well. And I want to thank myself for being so amazing and so great at predictions and just smarter than everyone else on the broadcast.
All right.
Yeah. You boo all you want. I know what makes you cheer.
Well, he will now be at the very top, actually the best analyst ever on our Discord server, because he has done it 2 times. Yeah, you are the 2-time champion. Christ, we're gonna have to steal that away from him. Who out of us? Like, Alex, you need to up your prediction game, man. I was pulling a lot of it from the 2 of us.
Very bad this split. Very, very bad.
Yes. Hang on, there goes my camera's defocused. He can't handle my prediction majesty. Hang on a second.
Oh,
are we back? No, it's just decided that I'm out of focus.
Okay, you're out of focus now, mate. Okay. But well done, sir. Congratulations, the 2-time champion. You're back at it again. It's what you do. It's who you are. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually at the end of most of our stuff. Yeah. We've talked about literally, actually everything on this sheet we've actually mentioned. We could go in and talk in depth if we wanted to about Rascal Jester DFM, that finals match, but
I think one thing we should be kind of nice to stop in though is like, obviously, like now that the season's over and it's coming out to play-ins, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, on Twitch, or whatever, I have to say, in my experience of casting regions or trying to get information on regions, which I am less familiar with, and I had to do that a lot for remasters because I was familiar with NLC, but not necessarily some of the others. Consider us your resource. If you would like to know more about the LJL, we are very, very happy to talk about anything and everything. Even if it's basic questions, more in-depth ones. We've had a couple
we'll chat shit for hours in Discord if you want.
Yeah.
As much as we do this for our own content, for our own benefit, we genuinely believe that DFM are a team that could make a splash this world, and we would love to help you understand a lot of the context of this team and why we do believe that, and why this would be very exciting if they did that. We are going to put together a document for DFM, like we did for MSI. For those of you who didn't see that, we put together something like a 3,000 to 5,000 word document, including information on the players.
I think there's plans to do 2 versions of it, right? There's a public-facing one and a non-public-facing one.
Yeah, so we can put, like, I don't know. Well, we'll
bit more anecdotal stuff.
A bit more anecdotal stuff and one that's maybe a bit more rambling and stuff. There you go, Sam. You're good.
Hey!
But yeah, so in terms of like our plans for worldy stuff, like we said, live viewing stuff is on the cards. We're gonna find a way to do that. We might even do it from through in the other room on the sofa over there, where we can have everyone in person, because technically we can kind of meet up again. So we might be doing that, and also we're going to put together the most nucleated amount of LJL knowledge that we possibly can. If you would like to contribute anything to that, if you would like to have access to that, if you would like to talk to us outside of that, please get in touch. We have all of our contact details on here, on Twitter, in Discord, everything like that. Please come talk to us, because it's an exciting region this year.
If it's not the Dark Horse region this year, it's never going to be, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll have to rebuild. But by the way, if you're ever interested in learning about the rookies and everything, guess what? We've been covering Academy. We know this region better than most, at least that speak English. We're not talking about Japanese native speakers, because obviously they're wicked smart, but we speak English. So we can do it quick smart.
And we can talk to them, and then by power of communication, we can share with you great knowledge.
Yes, no, wait, Voltron, that's American. Shit. We stuff anime and stuff. Fate Stay Zero was something. By the way, Giga UK did a really good video on the whole Fate series and trying to explain the timeline.
What was that tangent, Lexi? Why though?
I am a big Fate fan, by the way. Lexi, you just... it's just like the... Hang on, wait, where is it? It's just that...
Wait a moment.
Camera's down.
My camera's unfocused again because I laughed too hard. This is a disaster.
Wait, okay. We can switch cameras. We'll switch cameras. I've got a second camera that focuses as well, so Sam's just bad. Gentlemen, we've got one last thing to do before we end this podcast out.
Hit me with it.
Hit me.
It's our LJL OU end of split power rankings.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Nice. All right, we're going to do the whole Ric Flair, end it out on a high note, do our power rankings, and then we'll call it quits. If, by the way, anyone, while we're doing our power rankings, if you've got any questions for us at this exact moment in time that you'd like us, this is the time. Put it in the Twitch chat while we do our power rankings, and once we're finished, we can answer your questions, and then that's going to be the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. We've covered and talked about way more than I thought we would, actually, quite frankly. So I'm pretty happy with how this episode has gone. Nymaera, this was your idea.
Yes.
So if you could explain the idea of these power rankings.
So effectively, you know what we were talking about in terms of predictions and stuff like that? It got us thinking, all right, which ones did we get right and which ones did we get horribly, horribly wrong? So this is basically because we had a certain number of teams that overperformed or vastly underperformed. So we thought, okay, let's just do a fun thing, put some, because it's decent content as well. How about we go to this, and now we have this here, and hopefully you should be able to get everything on here. Ooh, fun stuff. Yeah. And we can go look at these teams over here, and this is the order which they finished in, and then go over towards us and think, all right, standings be damned, how good do we think these teams were? So, for me, let's start it off. DFM are my number 1 team. I don't think there is any reason to contest this. Burning Core are very much my last place team. That one's an easy one too.
These were the 2 easy ones, mate.
So, I think that we are not contesting that.
No.
What would you guys like to do in terms of this? Because I think that I could argue for the rest of the list being at least one place different.
So, I mean, I want to start with the first one. Sengoku should have been a 6th place team. They fucked up their run, and I completely agree with every analyst we've ever had that said Sengoku Gaming probably could have been a good playoffs team if they could have made it to playoffs.
I think they started their run. So just to qualify, Al, are we judging this on end of split power or all of split power?
This is end of split, coming out of week 7.
Okay.
Where did these teams actually end up? Because basically the end of their split. Because this one. So you can put Sengoku there. I'm gonna hold off on Sengoku because I want to see where I put some other teams. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put Axe as a 2nd.
Oh shit!
I think that's probably. Wait a minute. I need to look at this. I need to just refresh my memory very quickly on Axis because they beat V3 in a 3-0, right?
They did.
It was a long drawn out one, but
it wasn't a very clean 3-0. It was.
And I think that even though the Juggernaut match was obviously fantastic from Rascal Jesters and Soul and Secret were stunning, I think that Axis, if they had played a best of 5 against Rascal Jester at the end of that split, would have beaten Rascal Jester. I put Axis as my 2nd place team.
Man, that would have been a banger.
It would have been a great series.
5. We got robbed of that one because DFM weren't motivated.
Imagine if we had a lower bracket and we had 2 seeds from LJL going to Worlds and it was one of those 2 in a best of 5. That would have been very fun.
Juicy. Yeah. Okay. I will disagree on that because I actually think that Rascal Jester's strengths match up far too well into Axis's. Outside of Hoglet versus Hatchamacher, where I think Hoglet probably has the edge there. I just think Hatchamacher has a certain clutch factor when it comes to skirmishes in terms of being able to pull out some mad crescent guards to disrupt engages, etc. But unfortunately, I think Sol and Secret are a cut above Honey and Nemo as a duo when it comes to a best of 5. So I think I don't think Axis win if Honey doesn't get fed.
I'm still trying to figure out where I want to go. But V3 on my 3rd.
Wow.
Of course they are. Okay.
So, all right, I'm going to really upset you now because I'm going to put V3 as 5th.
That's
because
fair.
You know who's 4th? Sengoku.
No.
I think coming out of the last week, Sengoku were 4th.
That means they just win one best of 5, then lose. So I think that's fair. I think that's actually
fair.
Hang
on. Let me go back over season 7. Hang on. Why not season 7? Split 7. I'm like 7. I'm going to find the right term.
Their loss to Rascal Jesters was so close and so well played. I still think that Sengoku could have come in.
That was one of the better games of the year.
And that was why I was sat there thinking, Sengoku coming out of that last week, I think they actually were coming in very, very strong. They completely flubbed it. They obviously didn't even make playoffs. They're down here, for God's sake. But if you go take them into playoffs, regardless of win record and stuff like that, I reckon they can go into top 4.
I am going to agree with Sam. Says CGA were should have probably been 7th. In all fairness, I do agree that CGA definitely weren't the strongest team. And I'm going to put Hawks with. I mean, I think Hawks are a very interesting one because their fall from grace in playoffs was just a best of 5, and then it was out. It was a very peculiar time. I don't even think it was representative of how the Hawks have played throughout the whole split.
I agree. I thought that the Hawks were actually meant to be. I think that they should have been the strongest lower bracket team. Yeah, and then they fell apart.
Been Hawks there, but yeah. My problem is, while I would love to agree with Al on the Sengoku spicy take, I think one game does not a good team make. And I also am looking back at their week 7 game versus DFM where they got giga stomped.
But it's DFM, Sam.
Sure. Yeah. But I've also seen people like Axis, who were significantly higher up that list as well, put up very good fights against them. And there is also there's being defeated by DFM, and then there is, oh gods, it's all gone wrong. Oh gods, this is our best player.
I put Rascal Jester 4th. So...
getting destroyed by Unipon 6. Oh god, there's bad, and then there's Crash running into a wall bad.
I mean, I'm also putting Rascal Jester's 4th, even though they could never get 4th. Because they physically couldn't get lower than 3rd.
That's true. So do you think that in a best of 5, V3 beat Rascal Jesters? Basically.
Yeah, I think I genuinely do believe that. I genuinely do believe that. The bot lanes have
okay, all right. So I contest that because if we're going off of the very end of split, you have to play with substitutes for V3, and it's either Unica or Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think that with those in,
I want Unica,
good,
I want Unica in because man, that guy has been stomping so hard. Man is on a heater. If I could get a Unica now at the end of Academy, oh, I want Rascal Jester every day. Unica will smash Hatchamecha now. Like, no joke, this guy is legit so hot after Academy.
So let's average this out, right?
But I don't get that. I don't get the Academy Unica heat coming in, so it's a bit different.
So on average, we have DFM, and then Axes actually on average are our second place team. Rascal Jesters on average are our third.
Yep.
Fourth?
V3?
Yes, V3. Then it's
Hawks.
Where are the Hawks?
Hawks, we got 2 votes for 5th and then 1 for 6th. Sengoku.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Hawks.
Yeah, it's just the opposite way around. Unless
CGA. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so with our so average.
Not a huge amount actually is
actually
switched
not
up.
Changed that much. So DFM confirmed. Axes over Rascal Jesters. That's a change. V3 coming in as 4th.
Exactly where they were.
Where they were. It's just a change between these two. Hawks are 5th, 6th anyway. Sengoku making it over CGA. So effectively just some minor changes about that. That was okay.
I think the average kind of
I just thought it'd be an interesting,
more sensible.
Yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting. I'm gonna switch it back over to our faces now, but I thought that was an interesting.
I think you're both dirty inches, and I can see why I got the predictions crown.
I thought that was an interesting mind game to do, just to finish things off, because again, it's a way for us to look back at the end of the split and do something a little bit more involved and something more visually interesting on screen as well. So, hope you guys enjoyed our little look in at the region, because part of this has also just been like, all right, okay. What's the region outside of DFM? Because everyone is going to be talking about DFM from this point forward. Let's go have one last check-in with these teams.
See, this is the average, and I am above average, so this makes a lot more sense.
Screw off, Sam.
Alright, I'm done. Okay,
I mean, mate, you just literally put down the actual standings except for Sengoku and CGA.
Yeah, exactly. Why do you think that is? Because I got them right, so...
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the LJL OU podcast. You can find this podcast on all audio streaming platforms, YouTube and Twitch, where we stream this podcast live. If you are interested in finding any on all of our social medias below each of our faces, but if you're on the audio-only version, it's at MaskedSwan for myself, it's at Initialise with a 1, or you can check the show notes for that one as well, and it's at Nymaera. You can also find the LJL OU on all social platforms as well of LJL OU or LJL English. Guaranteed we will be one of the top ones that will come up in any and all of your search results. When in doubt, there is also a link tree and the show notes down there if you're not sure as well. But gentlemen, that brings us to the end of episode 31 of the podcast. LJL gonna do well at Worlds?
Yes.
Yeah?
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
We'll find out relatively soon. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media, and we're done! Woo! LJL out! We done!